Hi, my name is Debra Meehl, and I am the president and the founder of the Meehl Foundation.
And as I said, I'm Kristin Smith, certified professional life coach, yoga and mindfulness facilitator, and a member of the Meehl Foundation's intensively trained DBT team.
Tonight, by the fireside, we're going to talk to you a little bit about creating a positive life and what DBT calls creating a life worth living. Since this is our first fireside chat and something that we want to be able to share with you, we're going to be sharing with you different topics on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. And the first topic tonight is, of course, like we said, creating a life worth living, but we're just going to give you a few very basic points. We're going to try to keep this video short, but not too short. It'll be about 10 minutes long, and we want to talk to you about mind, body, and spirit. Right, 10 minutes. There's Kristin helping me try to remember and to be able to see on this video exactly what 10 minutes looks like. So the first thing in regards to making changes for a positive life is I hear all the time that change is difficult, and I want you to know that that's really, truly not the case. Change isn't difficult at all. Change is inconvenient. And so when we talk about making changes, and people say that it's difficult to make changes like changing their diet, changing the way that they think, changing any kind of habit that they have, that's difficult. And I really want you to know that that's really not true. It's actually easy to make change, but just inconvenient. So when you start to make positive changes in your life, you don't have to look at it as being all or nothing. The statistics show that it takes about 21 days to change a habit, but you can actually make significant positive change in your life even if you just do something for just a few days. So you can pick one thing out of mind, body, and spirit to do, or you can pick all of them. Now, I will tell you, when you go to make drastic changes in your life, you're going to be met with a lot of resistance. There's going to be a lot of people in your life that don't like those changes. So, for example, one of my clients decided when she went home that she wasn't going to buy potato chips anymore. She wasn't going to buy junk food. She was going to stop feeding her kids and her husband that. And I want you to know that she was met with a lot of resistance about that. And it's been very difficult for her then to implement the positive changes in her life when she's surrounded by junk food and is constantly, again, triggered into eating that stuff. So, again, making changes isn't difficult, it's just inconvenient, and it can be inconvenient for the people that are around you too, and then it can feel like a lot of resistance. But again, that doesn't necessarily make it difficult. So if you have a positive, again, attitude about making certain changes and then you become really tough about it, people around you actually respect that and will then support you in being able to make those changes. Any points about that, Kristin?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to touch on really one big thing for me really quickly. It's really important for making change, but it's also about making change. The way that the brain works, your little neurons connect to each other across these nice little bridges called synapses. And what happens when you have a repetitive behavior, a thought, anything that you do on a regular basis, anything at all, the different neurons that fire on different sides of your brains build these synaptic bridges that connect them together. And that's part of the underlying neuronal structure that reinforces behaviors or thoughts that make it, quote, difficult to change them. The really great thing is that every single time you do something opposite of whatever that behavior or that thought would be, the synaptic bridges that are in place actually weaken, and the neurons that are firing in the good behavior, the behavior that you want, build new bridges in their place. So you can actually, even just by accepting the idea that change can be easy and just telling yourself, no, that's not, change can be easy. Change can be easy. Change is easy. Every time you do that in a way that you really feel it, your brain is actually literally making the change easier. Fire together, wire together. And once they're wired together, it's a million times easier than you would have ever even thought, imagined, or believed that it could be.
Excellent. This is one of the reasons why we have Kristin on our team, is that she's absolutely dynamic in being able to explain those things. The other thing I'd like to be able to say about that is that your thoughts plus your behavior your thoughts, I'm sorry, plus your emotion equal your behavior 100% of the time. So your thought has to change, or your emotion has to change for your behavior to change. So if you're constantly telling yourself that change is difficult, the emotion that comes with that isn't a happy emotion. So it becomes more and more difficult then to actually make changes in your life if you're constantly telling yourself those types of negative thinking. So one of the things that we have to look at, and one of the changes that you can make immediately that's actually easy to do, is you start awareness, the awareness of your own thinking. We believe at this time that we're the only mammals on the planet that actually have awareness of our own thoughts. So for example, I tell people that right before the raccoon or the possum crosses the road, it doesn't say to itself, well, I wonder if this is a really good idea. So we, though, as human beings, with our prefrontal cortex, are able to engage in insight, hindsight, and foresight. Your prefrontal cortex, again, we can talk about executive functioning and make it really, really difficult, but I want to tell you, again, it's insight, hindsight, and foresight. And so as your prefrontal cortex starts to work, what happens is that it tampers that emotional part of your brain down, your limbic system, the reptilian part of your brain, your fight and flight mechanism. It tampers that down so that you're able to then make wise decisions. And you can't make wise decisions and you can't make solid choices if, again, you have no awareness. So one of the things in making any change, and I speak around the United States about this, you can give people all the skills in the world for them to use, but if you haven't taught them the awareness of their own thinking, they're never going to make that choice. Because, again, they don't have that basic underlying skill to be able to do that. Anything about that?
Well, I have one thought, but
Okay.
I don't necessarily want to throw it out there because I don't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, you can steal it. I don't care.
I think this is a really great position to, insert that wonderful little story about Jack Canfield that you were telling me the other day, because that really demonstrates the way that awareness can work in changing your thought years.
So I was at a retreat, a Jack Canfield retreat. I happen to really enjoy Jack Canfield, and I like the material that he does. And, of course, he's been on The Secret, and he has a great book out in regards to success. And I approached him after one of the seminars that he did, and we were having a conversation. And one of the things that we do here at the Meehl Foundation is we take people with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder with or without addiction. And he said to me, wow, that's a really difficult crowd. And my reply was just what, maybe it's not difficult to treat them at all. Maybe it's just what you were told in school, and maybe there's a better way, and to do it a specific way then makes it much, much easier. And he actually kind of smiled and chuckled, and he said, maybe so. So the interesting thing is that once you are told something like the earth is flat, then you're going to continue to believe that the earth is flat. But once you have some data that proves to you that the earth isn't flat, then you can start to be able to change your thinking. So one drop, I say, at a time in a bucket of very dirty water. It's just one thought change at a time. And every time you have a negative thought or a thought that you think is inaccurate, you can change that thought. And you can change that thought fairly quickly by, again, getting to what we like to say, the fork in the road, and choosing the right or the left. I don't care which direction it is, but you can change your thinking